Welcome once again to Political Paradigm. I am Terry Ikumi. Today my guest is an actor, a lawyer, a former House of Reps and governorship candidate, and now the spokesperson of the Peter Obi Presidential Campaign Council. My guest is Kenneth Okonkwo. Welcome to Political Paradigm.
Thank you very much, and thank you viewers for joining us.
You know, I find it interesting that I'm speaking to you not regarding entertainment, but politics. And it makes me question how you made your transition.
You know, actually, when I was in the university, I was a political strategist. So much that people from other departments come to me to give them the winning strategy. You know, when I was in politics, when I was in the university, I remember the year I wanted to do student union politics. Yeah, because of our activism then, student union politics was banned. So we were left with departmental politics. You know, I was the Secretary General for the Society for the Advancement of Business Management, SABAM. And so people from medical college, this, and they come to me to give them the winning strategy. So it wasn't a sudden thing, it has always been there. But you see, there's time for everything on earth. You can't do everything at the same time. And if you read management as I did, and then coupled with theology, when they said, let everything be done decently and in order, then you would have to take things one after the other. So, having gone into entertainment and it was successful, you would have to do things, one after the other, because most of the things you do cannot be delegated. You cannot delegate anybody to act for you. So anytime you want to be very serious with any other thing, you will have to give up something. I'm a perfectionist. I want to do everything that I do to the best of my ability. So now that I am seriously into politics, acting has to be wound down because you cannot be in those places at the same time.
You know, it's interesting because you've been in politics, at least I recall that as far back as 2014, you had wanted to run for the House of Representatives. It makes me question, especially because of the decisions you've had to make politically to be where you are today.
Yeah.
What ideologies drive your political conviction?
Better Nigeria. Nigeria free of corruption, free of poverty, free of insecurity. That's why my emphasis is not on political parties. It's in Nigeria. So the country, because, I do not like blowing my trumpet. Before I moved into politics, I was already very comfortable enough that I have always, comfortable enough that I have built my own mansion in my village here in Abuja, and then our corporate office. And so political party was not any of my incentive. So it has always been that Nigeria is the ultimate responsibility of any political party to better. So if any political party is not bettering the life of Nigeria, and their failure has become systemic, in other words, they've been corrupted as a system, what am I still doing there? It's a different thing that you can single out one individual in the political party and say this person is not doing well, but that the party, basically is committed to that better Nigeria. But once it becomes systemic, there is nothing you can do. Whoever you place in that party would have to succumb to the blackmail of those people who are wielding the powers of the party. So I was in PDP. I told them when PDP has expired, it came to a point where PDP was no longer capable of doing something good. And I'm serious. When we purchased our forms, for instance, to contest for the House of Rep, they just had a meeting one day and called everybody and told everybody to step down. No courtesy.
It wasn't the issue of zoning, because that was what we heard.
When I went for the House of Rep. That's what I'm saying. People from our side was told to collect from because it was our turn. And one day they just had a meeting and told all of us to step down without recourse to that same zoning again.
But what they said was initially it was
in
zoning.
PDP.
Yes, initially it was zoning. And at some point, it was thrown open, not stepping down, as you put it.
Good. You're talking about in PDP?
Yes.
Good. You are saying what you heard. You're talking to the person that participated. So I'm telling you what happened.
So that was why you left the PDP?
No. After that, because like I said, you have to make sure that it's not an isolated case. If it's an isolated case, you can treat that case. Good. But after that, look at what happened in the national level. They still worked out on Jonathan. And what they were saying then was that it did not accord to zoning. But in the regional elections, where they can muzzle their way through, it's still talking about zoning. So you discover that when it suits them, they will talk about something. When it doesn't suit them, they'll talk about another thing. But basically, when that election was over, within 1 year, 2 years, in PDP, they were not even able to start becoming an opposition party. They were not even taking on the government in power. They were still struggling for who will lead PDP. That was when you saw the Ahmad Sharif time, this and that. At a certain point, I called the youths. They came to me. They don't know what is going on. I said, okay, let's go to Wadata Plaza. I led them to Wadata Plaza. And we met the PDP leadership then. And they assured us that, look, PDP is going to have a breath of fresh air, that by the next convention, that their old ones are going to be dropped out, the new ones will come in, this and that. Beautiful. And I told the youth, if by the next convention, we do not see new people, I'm done. Because when a party loses an election based on the credibility of the leaders, the only way to make the party appear new in front of people is to change the leadership. The people will be saying, okay, these are new people, we can give them a chance. But rather than PDP moving forward to new people, they were actually moving backward to old people. And that's what they did even till today. Can you imagine getting a man who contested election 1992 as president, coming 2022? How many years? 30 years gap. I've never seen a thing like that in any part of the world. To come back again, does it mean that PDP does not have anybody that could come into that position? That's what I said, that they are incapable of doing what is right. I said it then, and I maintain it, and they have been proving me right. Now, coming to APC. Remember, when something has happened to you first, you don't have the appetite of giving a room for a very long, when you have noticed some, resemblance of what you have seen before. APC came in. Look at their promises. Look at their achievements. Look at what they met. Look at what we are seeing. It would not take you any magic to know that these two parties have become two sides of the same coin. APC met exchange rate of 197 naira. They are leaving us with exchange rate moving towards 1,000 naira to $1. APC met unemployment rate of 8.19%. Now it is 33.3% unemployment rate. APC met inflation rate about 9%. Is now 22%. APC met still tolerable country in terms of insecurity. It was limited to Northeast. But today, in the Southwest, you have the ritualists, the occultists, the Ikorodu boys from nowhere.
Were these the reasons
in the
why
Southeast.
you left here? Were these the reasons why you left the APC?
APC?
Yes.
It is obvious.
No, beyond how obvious it is, because
Yes.
I recall that in July when you were leaving the party,
Yes.
you stated clearly that you were against the Muslim ticket, and that was why you were leaving the party.
Good.
So hearing you say all these things, now I have to ask, well, did you not leave the APC because of the Muslim ticket in July?
Good. I was coming up to that. I can guarantee you that 2 years before that, you have never seen me on any APC's national event. The last one you saw me was in 2018. Good. And when they were doing the registration, I went home to mobilize them because I'm the leader, or I was the leader of APC in my local government, and then one of the leaders in my state. So I have been disenchanted with everything APC from the day they put that obnoxious nomination fee in 2019. Then when they now won the election, I'm now like, okay, let me see the performance. And when it was atrocious, I was just there, a member of APC. PDP is not an option. I could have stayed at home. I was the one who told my APC members, and you can go home and verify. After sponsoring them for anything that has been national, I told them, don't put my name. I'm not going to be there. Because the whole idea when I entered politics was for my people. Now, the Muslim ticket was the last straw that broke the camel's back. If you watched my interview, I was telling them I'm angry with my party because I did not vote for insecurity. When I discovered where they were heading to, I granted some interviews, in some of your sister stations. When they told me that, I said I wasn't even going to support the candidate of APC if they bring out any candidate that I am not convinced will clean up the mess that they have been giving to Nigerians. And I enumerated them. How can you tell somebody to pay a nomination fee when the totality of his salary performance is not up to that fee? Are you not establishing automatically the person has to be corrupt? It's not about whether you can afford it or not, but whether you can defend it or not. Because if you're coming as the person who wants to wipe out corruption, there are certain indices you cannot defend. I mean, if you look around me, you will know whether I'll be able to afford that price. But, like I told you, I voted for security. Insecurity was terrible in PDP's time, so we thought. Because we have not witnessed such level of terrorism. And it was limited to Northeast. And we were saying, APC will come in, the general has experience in security, and he came in. And like I was telling you, in the Southwest, all sorts of cult groups, all sorts of insecurity-inspired groups rooted in poverty.
But
do you know what Akeredolu did? Akeredolu with his white birds, when 40 persons were killed in a church, he raised up his hand in tears and told people, we have failed. Sorry, we could not secure you. That it was as a result of the work of some evil people from the top, from the federal government. I'm quoting Akeredolu in tears. That white bird is not Nollywood white bird. They did not dye it or color it. He got it by age. Such a man will be weeping for his country. Then you know the level of insecurity that APC has put us in.
I hear you loudly speak about the kind of candidates the APC has put forward. And I also hear you say that the APC, you had hoped that the APC would have fielded a better candidate.
At least.
Do you have a list of candidates or one candidate that you had hoped that the APC would have fielded that would have perhaps kept you back in the party?
I am going to talk in riddles because I'm not an APC member. But sure, there would have been some candidates that they would have fielded and they would have stood a chance of competing.
Like who?
Not that, no, you wouldn't ask me because that would be hypothetical. But I remember there was a candidate who said those that voted for Tinubu are regretting. Telling you that even APC is regretting their choice. I remembered that there would have been some younger ones who would not be blah, Buhari, who will not tell you to bring your APV when they mean PVC, who will not tell you that they will make a down payment of money for roasted corn when they are talking about transmission line. I know there are candidates in APC who would tell you God bless their party, not God bless PD APC, a non-existent party. At least I know that there would have been better candidates that would have done better.
Mr. Okonkwo, let me take your attention to something, because the concern for many is, especially when I speak with presidential spokespersons, it's always fair to let the people understand the caliber of these persons and perhaps judge their credibility. For someone who's been in the PDP, the APC, and now the Labour Party, which you've only been a member for about a few months now, and now you're the spokesperson of the presidential campaign council, some would question why, despite all these concerns you observed in the APC, you stayed a member until the Labour Party option came, and then you began to condemn the party. And if you may, I would love for you to react to something. I'm going to play something that you said.
I read through the constitution and the manifesto of APC, and I discovered that there are some aims and objectives that are compatible with my belief as a politician. You know, they talk about institutionalizing democracy, they talked about internal democracy, they talked about eliminating discrimination from all sorts of people, they talked about true federalism, they talked about a whole lot of things that I believed in as a politician. And it was natural for me to gravitate around them. And one way or the other, they've done well. I believe that the party is on course. Trying to correct what has happened in the past is not always easy. President Muhammadu Buhari has spent the first term trying to correct what has happened. And I know by the second term, because I know he will win, he will be able to now grow Nigeria to the next level. APC has done well. I'm a progressive by nature, and it's quite natural for me to gravitate around APC.
So I would like for you to react to this, because this was what you said about the APC in 2019. Despite what you saw or how you adjudged the APC to have performed in 2019, just before the elections, and then you joined the party to run for governor of Enugu State. And then you said these words about the party. Your key words there were that it is not easy. And you believe that President Muhammadu Buhari in his second term would do better.
Absolutely. Let me first of all admit that those are my words. And let me also admit that as at 2019, things were not this horrible. And let me also submit that there was no alternative to APC as at then. I told you that the only thing that pissed me off at 2019 was that obnoxious nomination fee. But I can always single something out. This insecurity we're talking now, they were not this prevalent before 2019. We didn't have unknown gunmen in the southeast. We didn't have these killer herdsmen killing everybody in the north central. We didn't have these terrible bandits, terrorists, and kidnappers in the northwest. They subdued Boko Haram to the point that they were priding themselves that they have technically defeated Boko Haram. But what happened after 2019? That was when everything got terrible. No iota of creativity. Not one. There is nothing they have created that is producing any wealth for them. They kept borrowing until our debt now is about 70-something trillion naira. No iota of creativity at all. So your revenue now cannot even pay your debt. It wasn't like that in 2019. And if you have been reading my column, because I'm a columnist, I have been warning APC about borrowing. I've been warning about insecurity. I even brought out some solutions for them. So after 2019, they went home and did nothing. I said I stopped participating in anything APC. Because you can't just take my time when I'm looking for a better Nigeria and you're not focused to a better Nigeria. You cannot take my time to do what? So, like I told you, marshalling out all these things, can you imagine we're facing fuel scarcity? Everything about APC is ending on a very sad note. We have fuel scarcity now, you can get fuel. If they had removed subsidy when they came in as they promised, this fuel price would never have reached 250 naira. So eventually it reached, and the subsidy is still there. It's paying almost 6 point something trillion naira in a subsidy you promised you are not even going to pay at all, that it was criminal. So one thing I want to correct, I did not start condemning APC when I had left APC. I started condemning APC when I was in APC.
But you did say that
Yes.
you didn't leave in 2019 because there was no alternative.
No, I did not leave in 2019. I didn't believe they've come to that terrible situation where they are incapable of doing.
No, I'm quoting you. You
Yes.
said
Yes.
that there was no alternative, and that was why you stayed in the party.
That's it, before I left.
So my question is, if you did not have the Labour Party alternative
Yes.
now,
Yes.
would you have still left the APC? If also the Muslim ticket thing did not arise, would you have still left the APC?
Now, these are hypothetical questions. They're not life questions. In law, we call them academic exercise. If you don't have much time to spare, let us spare those questions. But just in case you think I'm scared of us answering them, no, I'm not. In our political lexicon, haven't you heard about Sidon Look? I would probably be Sidoning and looking, but I would not lend my name to anything I don't believe in. That is right.
Why did you join the Labour Party? Was it because of Peter Obi? Did you see a credible alternative in Peter Obi, or are you share an affinity with the Labour Party in general?
Now, Labour Party ought to be the people's party. It ought to be the workers' party. It's a party for the students by their constitution, for the women, for the traders, for the businessmen, for the professionals, for the intellectuals, for everybody, the working class. Beautiful dream, beautiful party. But it takes the instrumentality of strong men for you to bring out the best in a party. If you want to ask me, was it because of Peter Obi that I entered Labour Party? I will give you a one-word answer, and the answer is yes. The first interview I granted, I said I'm Obi-centric, meaning that my entering into 2023 centered on Obi. Like I told you, my whole interest is in a better Nigeria. Having seen that Obi has left the systemic failure that PDP had become and had become independent, it was now easier to identify with him for the possibility of a new Nigeria. So I became Obi-centric immediately. So my initial political idea was centered on Obi. But remember, independent candidacy is not yet allowed. So we still need the instrumentality of a party to win. Is the vehicle. On the election day, it might even be just the party you will see on the ballot. So you wouldn't be doing him any good if you're promoting him and you're not promoting the vehicle that he's going to ride on. So that was when I became convinced that I still need to promote the party as much as I promote him. So that was the motivation to get into Labour Party when they came calling. And then I'm very happy the way things are going.
You know, we'll talk about his antecedents that drew you to him. But let me ask you this very important question. How are you? You say that you're Obi-centric.
Yes, at the initial stage. But now I am obediently and usefully Obi-centric.
Oh, very well then. So let me ask you this question. How are you reacting to, I like to think you are aware that there are members of the PDP and the APC who are moving to the Labour Party now. How are you reacting? How are you reacting to that?
It's beautiful.
You think it is, but despite the fact that they are referred to as the old order, you don't think it will have a negative effect within the Labour Party?
Not at all. And you just say the ones that are visible, that are moving in droves. There are a whole lot of them in their houses, still attending even PDP executive meeting, and those that are obedient, to my knowledge. When you want to aspire to be the president, you will be the president of everybody. You are supposed to be a man that will command the influence and respect of all the political parties, even when you are not a member of them, of the old, of the young, of the women, of the men. And Obi has made it clear that he has come to secure and unite Nigeria. So he's going to carry everybody along. I do not mind everybody moving into level. Why?
Including those that you think are responsible for the crisis or for the state of the country. No, you have no problem with it.
I don't mind. You know why? Constitutionally, you cannot stop anybody from entering any political party. It's their constitutional right. Good. That is why it's leadership that matters. That's why when I look at anything, I look at the leadership. You see, Obi is easy to gravitate around. Let's talk about his capacity, which is his qualifications. For you to know what I look at. This is a man who was educated Santa Maria Primary School, Christ the King College, then the University of Nigeria, philosophy. He proceeded. He was educated in London School of Economics, where he read financial management and business policy. He was educated in Harvard Business School, Boston, where he read marketing. He was educated in Columbia Business School, New York, where he read marketing management. He was educated in Oxford University, Cambridge University, where he read advanced leadership program. Institute of Management Development, Switzerland, where he read advanced executive program. I don't know whether I'm boring you with this qualification because there are too many. But the most important thing is that in all these areas, he has been educated in leadership, in executive program, in marketing. Are you then surprised that he is the chief marketing officer of his brand? Are you then surprised that he is enunciating these statistics that has become a headache? He did not acquire those facts by eating agbado and cassava. He acquired those facts by hearing, by reading, by studying, by memorizing, by meditating on those things. We are talking about capacity. We talk about his character. This is a man, when he was the governor, refused to be given any plot of land. And when he finished as a governor, they still took his plot as a matter of right, because you're pensionable by those laws then. You remember the Agbados? They now own the Lagos Liaison Office here in Abuja as part of their pension. But Obi refused completely. None of his relation, none of his family was given anything in his regime. I remember when we went to Oba's palace, Oba of Benin, he said, "Your integrity precedes you. Man, is it true that so happened?" And Obi said it's true. And you could see a well-elated Oba already looking forward for a new Nigeria with this man. Are we talking about character?
Are you saying he got? Are you saying he got the endorsement of the Oba of Benin?
No, Oba of Benin made it clear he's not political.
Okay, just wanted to be clear.
You know, he was holding himself back. You could see love. You could see any other thing. But Oba of Benin, to my knowledge, did not endorse any politician. He said that it is not in the character of the Oba to endorse any politician.
Absolutely. Beyond educational qualification, which you say that your candidate excelled in terms of performance as governor, he was governor for 8 years. Bola Tinubu, whom you've mentioned here repeatedly, was governor of Lagos as well for 8 years.
Yes.
Who outperformed who?
Let's talk about the performance of Peter Obi. MDG goals, he came first by United Nations assessment. By the assessment of the Bureau of Statistics, you know, he had only one state, Apga. So he couldn't have had the power to influence anything coming from the federal. He had the lowest unemployment rate. He had the least poverty rate. He has the highest network of roads. He built almost 800 kilometers of roads. In terms of infrastructure, when he came in, he did not even have an office as a governor. He didn't even have a lodge. He built the lodge. He built the secretariat. He transformed Anambra State from being the worst to the best. In terms of security, people were murdered in the street of Anambra State, dropping people like grasses, including the chairman of MBA Onitsha and the wife. They were killed on the streets of Anambra State. Anambra was coming last in education. Teachers stayed at home for 2 years before he came in. So you can see what he inherited. You can see what he transformed Anambra to. first academically in education. They started coming first in WAEC. So Obi scored first in all indices of governance: infrastructure, integrity, governance in Anambra State.
Above Lagos State.
Good. In security, the IG of police then confessed that Anambra State was the most secured state. Abubakar Mohammed. And kidnappers ran away, including the billionaire Evans. And he said this is the Obi's security structure. And there were notorious armed robbers then. One was Osisi Kanku, coming from Abia State to terrorize Anambra State. Obi met with the governors, and he was ambushed and taken out, and other terrible, notorious armed robbers. So, in security first, in uniting his people first, he united Anambra State that today, APGA's influence in Anambra is still growing. That even he himself, Obi, could not uproot APGA. Good governance. So, please, I want you to plead with me so that I don't go into Lagos.
I would like to.
Now, let me go into Lagos.
Okay.
No, because we are talking about comparative analysis.
Before you go into Lagos, can I play something for you?
Yes. As in.
It's related to the Lagos.
Let me.
It's related to.
Well, maybe let me finish the Lagos.
I think it will be a reaction.
So I won't be biased.
I can promise you that it will be a reaction. This is what you said.
Thank God, Lagos has consistently been under APC and the roots of APC from 1999. And Lagos is about the best state in Nigeria. So what other sample would you use to test the goodness of APC?
Good. Now,
you know why I played that?
Yes.
Because the APC prides in the antecedents of its presidential candidate, who says that he also set the foundation that has taken Lagos to where it is today, just like you said that Peter Obi did in Anambra State.
Good. Now, I was comparing APC states then, as in what APC has done in their states. So, when Lagos is the state they pride as the best state they have managed, then you can imagine how terrible they have performed.
That's not what you said.
No, I said as in APC state. In my mind, I was comparing APC states.
No. This was praise. You were praising Lagos State. You said.
That's what I said.
Look at what Lagos has become.
Good. As in compared to APC states. That's what I was saying in my mind. And I was living in Lagos. Good. But we are talking about comparative analysis whenever you are saying something. But when you come to talk about superlative analysis, let me tell you about Lagos. I was in Lagos. When Tinubu was in power, he inherited power from Buba Mawa. That was when the new modernization of Lagos started. In terms of security, when Tinubu was in power in Lagos State, what happened to Funsho Williams? Funsho Williams was the most celebrated political opponent against Tinubu. And Lagos was already preparing for a Funsho Williams governorship. What happened to him? He was brutally assassinated, murdered. In Lagos. Who was the chief security officer in Lagos? That's Tinubu. Whose responsibility was he to keep the life of Funsho Williams? It's Tinubu. I told you about the security performance of Obi. Did you hear that anything happened to any of his political opponents? Did you hear anybody was even attacked? But this man was brutally assassinated. No, he should take responsibility because he is the chief security officer. Till today, what happened? If anything happens to somebody, even if you are not responsible for it, you ought to arrest the culprits. You ought to prosecute them and bring them to justice. So what happened? That is the chief political opponent, killed and assassinated. I don't want to tell you what happened to Abubakar Awudu in Kogi, who wanted to contest and took another protege of Tinubu. When he was already won, when he has already won the election, he died. And they say he was poisoned. So we'll ask God when we get to God certain things. But what I want to tell you is that is a tip of the iceberg, the security situation in Lagos. And let me tell you another thing. Tinubu has never governed using the established security network. He has always used non-state actors to govern his state so that he would use them to achieve whatever he wants to achieve. Don't you know about Alayes and the Agboros? When the National Union of Road Transport Workers disowned their Lagos branch. What happened? The Tinubu and his generation of leaders established another one for them. You know why? When they want to extort the market traders to compel them to come to their rallies, they need non-state actors to use for them, because no policeman would do it. Have they subscribed to Amoteku? No, they won't. But they will subscribe to governing Lagos with allies and with non-state actors. Why do you think Ambode was removed? Ambode was trying to bring Lagos to become a modern city without those outlaws, and he was kicked out the first time. If you're not aware, Fashola was to be kicked out the first time. Why? Because they wanted to bring Lagos to come to the level of civilization. But no, not when Agbado politics is involved. Because that is why Lagos has continually been going under in terms of security. Because when you arm those guys and they understand the importance of guns, you can no longer rein them in. They will become outlaws. That's why you have the Kurubi boys, 1 million boys. In the universities, you have caught people festering. It is the underlying lack of security and building of thugs, which the Agbado politics has come to symbolize in Lagos. You're talking about infrastructure. Remember, when I said that, when Tinubu was in power, it was in his second term that the Lagos routes, as in Lagos Island, where he's supposed to come from, that they started making it. I was a trader. I had my shops in Idumota. I know what we passed through in terms of the allies, in terms of this. So comparatively, because Lagos is the commercial nerve center, you will still see that it will appear better than most of the rural states. But in terms of superlatively, their potential have never been attained. Are you aware that in Lagos, the BRT, when it came in, tug of war, a lot of inventions. What Tinubu wants to know is how will these non-state actors not be affected? Lagos is owing 780 billion naira. A state that reigns in the highest IGR. What are you doing in the neighborhood of borrowing? Peter Obi did not borrow for one day, and he left 75 billion naira. And then these people borrow every day with their highest state revenue, and they leave most debt than any other state. So when you talk about superlatively, Lagos is the worst governed state. Look at flood. What business will a state like Lagos have in flood that is raking in more than 60 billion naira every month? You know that flood is recurring. You can't even take care of it. Lagos is actually getting worse by the day, and the foundation is during Tinubu's time. But it ought to be the best when you check their resources and their outcome. So comparatively, especially in APC, Lagos is still, if you check.
Let's talk about the 2023 general election itself now.
Yeah.
Let me take you to a statement credited to the NNPP presidential candidate, Rabiu Kwankwaso. He says that when he was asked why he wasn't calling for donations from Nigerians, he said that he cannot be asking money from poor people whom he's trying to liberate, which is, of course, the opposite of what the Labour Party is doing. And there are those who say that Peter Obi is wealthy enough to fund his own campaign. How do you react?
Good. Funding from the people is one of the criteria to judge the popularity of a candidate. Are you aware that in America, before you are allowed to even compete in presidential debates, there are two reasons. One, your opinion poll, and how much fund have you raised. Corrupt people will tell you they don't need fund from the people. People are supposed to be the ones financing candidates, because they are the ones who want to employ these candidates to govern them. If a man who has been a minister, who has been a governor twice, who has been this and that, is telling you that the people are poor, is he not culpable to the poverty of the people? So nobody is supposed to fund his own campaign. The people are supposed to fund your campaign so that they will tell you what they want you to do for them, and when you go in, you do that. Is he trying to say that every Nigerian is poor? That tells you what APC government has put Nigerians in. Because APC government promised to take 100 million of Nigerians out of poverty, but they have put in 133 million of Nigerians into poverty. In all honesty, in fairness to him, APC has built a pyramid of poverty in Nigeria. Because we heard about pyramid of prosperity built with granules, cocoa and palm oil. But we saw APC building their own pyramids of rice in Abuja, and you spend almost 50,000 naira to buy a bag of that rice. Pyramids of poverty. You know, APC wants to turn this nation upside down, but God forbid. God forbid. So, in fairness to him, APC government have made Nigerians poor, but Nigerians are not so poor that they do not want to invest in bringing about the government that they want to govern them.
Speaking of Senator Rabiu Kwankwaso, I recall that about a month ago, the DG of the Labour Party presidential campaign did say that conversations were on, talks were on for a collaboration. Is that dead?
24 hours is too long in politics. Nothing is over until it's over.
So conversations are still going on with the new Nigeria People's Party?
With everybody in Nigeria. We want to build a government of national unity, government of national alliances. The interview I granted to one television station, I said when I see Tinubu and Atiku, I'll beg them to step down for Obi. That is talk. That's alliances. If they want us to talk with them, we'll talk with them. It's better to judge than to war. It makes things easy if they step down based on incapacity, based on incompetence, based on frailty. You know, they should step down. You know, we want to talk with everybody because it will be very wonderful if all the parties come and endorse Obi and Obi goes in, you know, as a consensus candidate so that he will build a national government.
The Christian Association of Nigeria has presented a list of demands for the next president of Nigeria. One of them is the creation of state police. Peter Obi is in support of the creation of state police. However, the Nigeria Labour Congress is opposed to it. Now, we all know that the Labour Party is the party of the Nigeria Labour Congress. Don't you see a conflict here?
Good. First of all, there is no conflict. I don't think there's anybody who is against restructuring. Good. So it's all part of restructuring. Now, what Labour is saying, if they said it, and that is what Nigerians are saying. No Nigerian is against state police except Tinubu, because in his manifesto, he did not reflect state police, he did not reflect restructuring, and he wouldn't like it because dictators like to have maximum powers. They want the federating units to be so incapable of doing certain things so that they will be rushing to them. There's no state police in Tinubu's document, manifesto. So, Peter Obi is talking about 3 levels policing: federal, state, and community. Because it was community policing that he used to wipe out criminality in Anambra State. Now, the Labour, everybody is saying, if you must go state police, you must make sure that the consequences of governors using it against political opponents will not be there. So basically, I don't think anybody is against state police, especially now.
I'm saying that the Nigeria Labour Congress has said categorically that it is against state police. Peter Obi has stated clearly that he is for state police.
That is for state police?
Yes.
Nigerian Labour Congress, like I told you, is a congress. They are supporting Labour Party candidate, no doubt. What conflict is that? When the man comes to power, he will give them the reasons why he said state police is okay, and they will certainly agree with him. Why people are afraid of state police, like I told you, is when you have some of these renegade governors who may use it against their political opponents. So Nigerian Labour Congress is like, look, we are very worried. So, but when Obi comes in, very much possible they will reach a compromise.
This issue of structure has been overflowed, if I must say. And the Labour Party has insisted that it's not an issue for them. But I take you back to 2014, 2019, when you were both here, when you were in the APC, the PDP and the APC. And it was clear that you needed a party with structure to help you win an election. So does that not sort of verify the statements that without structure, the Labour Party almost doesn't stand a chance in 2023?
It is because of the wrong definition of what structure is. I said we have the most efficient structure in the Nigerian politics now because the people are the structure of Labour Party. When you talk about structure, you're talking about political party. Good. When a political party has moved to become people-oriented, before we did any rally, Nigerians are already rallying in the 36 states of the Federation for Peter Obi. What do you call that? That's structure. People are selling me with calls. So how do they come in to help? What do you call that? When you're getting all these endorsements from every quarter, social political group, social cultural group, what is it? Structure. On that day, everybody will be limited to his polling unit. Structure. So we have the structure.
The people, the structure.
Good. When
So
you say Nigerian Labour Congress, what is it?
So 176,000 polling units, just over 176,000 polling units across the country. Will you on that day feel the people, volunteers, to man those polling units, or just the Labour Party have the number of agents to fill those polling units?
As I talk to you now, we are actually trying to reduce the number per unit.
Of volunteers, or you have party members?
We have, I can't say party members alone, volunteers. Volunteers, we are trying to structure them now to say, you know, you may not be able to be here, can you be here? We already have the people we need here now as I talk to you. You don't understand the power of the people. Everybody is obedient. I'm telling you, because everybody's tired. I mean, look at what the APC candidate said. He said it's a disgrace calling Peter's name. I knelt down and say, Amen. You know why? If they catch a thief, if they catch a drug baron, if they catch a terrorist, and he calls your name, Ikumi, that you are the one that is his brother, wouldn't it be a disgrace to you? Immediately he said it, I said, oh God, thank you. Thank you for this grace. Please, let him not mention the name of our presidential candidate. He has already said, God bless PDP APC, a monster with two heads. Let him continue mentioning the name of Atiku. There are two sides of the same coin. He should avoid mentioning the name of Peter Obi. That guy is an anointed candidate. His mouth is not holy enough to do that, please.
Just before we go, let me just quickly take you up on two issues. One is corruption in the country. What antecedents of Peter Obi give you the confidence that he can address the issue of corruption should he become president?
Okay. I'm just going to, summarize this. Obi was governor for 8 years for a party that has only one state, no godfather on the top. And since he became governor, after he left, he has not been invited at all to explain any transaction by any anti-corruption agency. His successor was picked from the handing over ground. After that, on the way to the airport, he was picked and landed in EFCC custody for questioning. Can you see the difference? He's a man that is spotless when it comes to corruption.
So beyond being corruption free,
good.
They say that when you fight corruption, corruption fights back. What antecedents show that he can tackle corruption? Recall that there are concerns as to how Nigeria has tackled corruption under President Muhammadu Buhari, even though he's been awarded the anti-corruption champion. there are concerns as to whether or not we've been able to tackle corruption within the country. And that was a man, or that is a man, who many described before he came to power as corruption-free.
That is when we talk about capacity. Being good is not enough. Being good does not make you a good leader. We're not trying to vote for a pope, we're trying to vote for a president. Obi not only was that he was not corrupt, Obi made sure nobody working for him was corrupt. Have you seen any of the commissioners or officers who worked under Obi being invited to be questioned? That is capacity. Obi has statistics in his head when he's spending money. He is following it. He doesn't need anybody to trace it. His head follows it. So Obi, when he comes to become president, he said, first of all, the secret is you that is the leader. Are you corrupt? If you're not corrupt, then when you're telling others not to be corrupt, they will listen to you. So he's not corrupt. And he is capable physically and mentally to check what is budgeted, where they went to, and how to control it. Prevention of corruption is better than cure. I'm a lawyer. Do you know what it takes the government to prosecute one criminal? I would rather prevent that corruption. All right. So Obi is going to prevent corruption, and if it happens, it is going to be speedily. That's why he said responsive government. This government of Buhari, the APC government, Buhari himself may not be corrupt, but his government is not responsive and is not responsible, meaning that they do not respond immediately when corruption is brewing. You can imagine a system that allows somebody to steal 109 billion naira before you dictated that he's stealing your money. That means you're not responsive. Then they're not responsible because they keep shifting blame to PDP. APC is still shifting blame of corruption in APC to PDP that left 8 years ago. That's being irresponsible. You have to take responsibility. Whenever a government comes in and they are making excuses, they will never do anything that is right, because excuses and successes do not go hand in hand.
Just before we go, the elections are almost here, 3 months plus before the elections. So I'd like to ask you this question. Ahead of the elections, what are your concerns and what are your expectations?
My concerns is that there seemed to be the possibility that APC and PDP are planting their men within the INEC. I am not comfortable that in a government of APC, they are burning INEC offices and nobody is held accountable. Nobody is arrested. I'm not comfortable that 23 members of INEC have been identified to be culpable in multiple registration and registration of underage. I am not comfortable. So, because I know Obi has won, and I know there is a possibility some people are planning to steal the election, Nigerians must be vigilant, because the INEC chairman will not be everywhere. The INEC commissioners will not be everywhere. So in case that there are molds, you agree with me that there is this rumor that some card-carrying members of political parties have been made commissioners in INEC. I'm not comfortable with that. So there could be a strategy to steal this election, and Nigerians should be vigilant so that we will not be taken unawares.
Mr. Kenneth Okonkwo, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. I know you just listened to Kenneth Okonkwo speak on the state of the nation, the state of the election, and his own decision about moving from APC to Labour Party. You know, it's the best of Kenneth Okonkwo has actually done well in this interview, and he has actually spitted out many facts. I know, this is a political season and it's a political talk, and sometimes when politicians talk, they have to talk to suit their own political agenda and then the agenda of their party. So as for me, he has actually buttressed his point and has explained his mind about many of the questions that were asked him. But then, it's a political talk. But then, based on the state of the nation presently and what is happening in a political atmosphere, we all need to keep educating ourselves on the realities that we need to, keep checking, and then, to keep finding facts from, to actually make our decisions as per the elections that is going to hold next year, 2023. So if you have watched the interview, I know that you are going to have received some kind of information about the coming election, and the decisions of the Labour Party, and then some of the things that Kenneth has said about the ruling APC and then PDP party, who is seen before as the major opposition. But right about now, it seems that PDP is even no more the major opposition. It's like Labour Party has taken over from them. So, but then the election is coming by, and then many of these talks are going to be on the internet, and many people are going to be asking a lot of questions. So I'd like to know your opinion about what Kenneth Okonkwo has said in this video. Has he been able, to convince you that Peter Obi is the right candidate for the job in 2023, or is it just, making a political assertion that is based on his interest or the interest of his party? So I'd like to hear your opinion about this interview, and what do you think about it, and who are you actually going to support in the coming election? Is it Peter Obi of Labour Party, or Ahmed Tinubu of APC, or Atiku Abubakar of PDP, or Rabiu Kwankwaso of NMPP? So I'd like to know your opinion in the comment section, and till I come your way again with another set of analysis, another set of reactions. Don't forget to like my channels and then subscribe for more videos, and to receive the notifications of my new uploads. Thank you so much for staying, and thank you for watching to the end, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a nice time. Bye bye.